Thank you, everyone. My name is Heather Villanueva. I am the Director of Movement Building at More Equitable Democracy. Everyone say hello to those who are watching out there on the interwebs. Hi. I can't think of the word for the fact that we are here today having this screening and discussion on the same day that the Supreme Court made the decision on Calais. I'm not sure. I want to say like lucky, but like, ooh, that seems like the wrong word. But it is good. I'm glad that we're here doing this together. So we only have a short time. I want to ask you all a couple questions. Spencer, first of all, can you please introduce yourself? And you don't have to be modest, because we all, not everyone knows how amazing you are. So please tell us how amazing you are. And also, tell us a little bit more about why this matters to you. You have traveled to Ireland and Germany. You've observed different elections, and you are involved. You're a leader in today's civil rights movement. Talk to us about how all of these things are connected.
So I'm a law professor at GW, law school here, and I think what's amazing about these experiences is really to see how these structures aren't just kind of concepts that are abstract, but they are animated by real people, and how these movements in different places are connected. April mentioned yesterday Frederick Douglass, and our experience in Ireland was, there is now a statue in Belfast to Frederick Douglass. There are murals in terms of because he went over there in the 1840s in part to sell his new book and to promote it, but in part to avoid kind of being captured in terms of a fugitive here because he loved slavery, right? And he was embraced by people who were in Ireland who saw the connection between their struggle and lack of freedom relative to Britain, right? And slavery, right? And so he both benefited from interacting with them, and he spoke around the country, and he was influential in terms of their freedom movement. And then I think about, today we talked about the Voting Rights Act, and, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but someone I knew, not well, I looked up to him, but I did know him, was like, John Lewis, right? And just thinking about him as like a human being and, what he sacrificed and so many other people sacrificed in this country, right? And one of the reasons they were successful, wasn't the only reason, but the day of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Judgment at Nuremberg was on ABC, and it was interrupted by these images of what was happening on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And so this notion that what happened in Germany, and people basically saying, I don't want to be a Nazi here. Like, we've got to do something about this. This is, a priority here, in part allowed us to move ahead. So this connection between these different struggles for inclusion and struggles against tyranny really were important to me in terms of those trips.
Thank you. Kevin, so you are working on proportional representation at the state level in Michigan. Tell us more about that, and why now? Why proportional representation?
Absolutely. So my name's Kevin, and I teach at a place called Wayne State University, which is in the heart of Detroit. And I've been really lucky in the state of Michigan to be part of a group of incredible civic activists who in 2018 decided that gerrymandering was a giant problem and that it was time to get rid of it. So we gathered hundreds of thousands of signatures. We got it on the ballot. We won it overwhelmingly. And then the organization stuck around. It didn't disappear. They stayed to win the win. and we've expanded voter access, and now we're moving into a stage where we're realizing that correcting gerrymandering, thinking about how to get all these individual single winner districts to tell the story of the state overall, it's just part of the story. And that what we really need to be doing is to take that one next step, think about our broader systems, like the movie said, like Spencer said, and to think about kind of how all the people fit together and all the voices fit together, which is what the German electoral system does. So what we've been doing is looking at all of the various systems around the world. Taking this trip was an amazing opportunity because it really means something to get on the ground, like literally on the ground, to see it in action, to watch people vote, to talk to activists, to talk to politicians. And so now we've been trying to do that same thing in Michigan. So we've, instead of saying, here is a solution that you should adopt, we've been asking people what's wrong. We've been asking people how they feel about politics, what could be done to make things better. People's normal answer isn't usually, let's do proportional representation. It's, let's do something about this broken two-party system. Let's do something about the fact that I don't have a rep. Or when I call my rep, they say, don't call here anymore because we don't care what you have to say. And so we've been trying to talk to people and then see what institutional changes fit what people actually want. So we've gathered multiple different groups together over a series of months. We brought them together. We've talked to them about the way that these systems work. And what we've been finding is that these proportional representation systems really kind of meet an underlying need, multiple underlying needs that people have. And it's a stretch for some people, but as we've talked people through it, as we've showed them how these systems work, what we're getting is a really positive response. And I think it's so important. And what I really love about this group is that it's not starting from that top down. We can tend to get super theoretical. And there are a lot of people who are like electoral engineers, literally the name of their job. It's got to come from below. And it's got to come from the kind of people in this room. And really, it's got to come from the people of this room who have experienced repression, whose voices have been silenced. And it's those voices that are going to start to make this change. And so I'm just utterly grateful to have everyone here to kind of inform us of that, take that back to Michigan, and then do the hard work of finding a good system, probably one that's in the proportional representation space.
And I'm sorry, I just want to, and this is like why more equitable democracy is incredibly important, as well as the work of the partners in terms of like real stories, real human beings. Like this notion of change is just an academic exercise and it's completely incomplete, right? Without real folks who are doing this, not again as an academic enterprise, but because this is a means toward what they're looking for in terms of a place at the table. And so that's why the trips are important, to kind of understand these stories and how success happened in the past, but also kind of relating it back. And I just think that that's an important void, frankly, that MED fills in terms of the reform landscape.
And it's why it's so important to bring Charlotte here, someone who's lived, like the one person in this room who's lived in a proportional representation system, who knows what it's like, who knows what the voting looks like, what election night looks like, and how the results look. So I hope we can.
Yeah, Charlotte. And just in addition to introducing yourself, I want to ask you, person to person, a question. So. We are now living in an authoritarian, under an authoritarian regime. And you're obviously from a country who has been in one of the worst in modern history. What can we learn from you? First of all, what is it like being under a different system, and what can we learn from you all?
Whew, that's a tough question.
In terms of your system.
Wow. In terms of what?
In terms of the system and how the system makes a difference, your electoral system.
Okay, so first of all, hi, my name is Charlotte. You've seen me yesterday probably. So I'm a journalist from Bavaria. I'm based in Munich and I work in the field of politics for the Bavarian Parliament. We kind of report on the Bavarian Parliament. Well, what you can learn is, so as I said yesterday already, the the Weimar Republic, our first German democracy, was kind of an experiment, and as we all know, it failed. We've seen it in the movie, we heard it, because probably most of the people weren't ready. The society wasn't ready at that point, and just coming out of the World War, coming out of the monarchy, people were just still living in that kind of frame, and just trying to build a democracy over their heads was kind of a challenge, and it failed. And so after World War II, with the help of the Americans, it kind of succeeded to build a stable democracy which lasts until today. And without that knowledge of failure, I think we wouldn't have the stability we have today within our democracy. And I think that's maybe something that you can learn from. I mean, I don't want your country to fail, obviously, but
we don't want to fail. We don't want to fail at all.
As I mentioned yesterday, Vergangenheitsbewältigung, the process of, reflecting on your own past, on your wrongdoings, facing them, from like every day new, and, protecting everything, the democracy every day. Yeah. Every day again, which is really important, and it needs people who believe in that system, and who are ready to, or who are willing to protect the system. And yeah, I don't think that without this experience, without the knowledge of failure, that it would be that stable today.
My mom always taught me to learn from other people's failures.
You're welcome.
So, but y'all still have a far right. We have a far right. Our far right base is about 20% of the U.S. population, as far as I know. But you have one, but your far right is not in government right now. What is the difference? Why? How can we do this?
Yeah, so we have the far right party, the AfD, which you've also seen in the movie. I think the reason why the AfD is not in the government is, first of all, the firewall, which was also mentioned by George. And you have to keep in mind that the AfD got 20% within the last election. So 80% of the people who voted didn't cast their vote on the AfD, which is, a huge amount, which I always like to point out. So that means that only 20%, which still is a lot actually for a country like Germany. But that's the reason. So there's like a silent coalition between the democratic parties, like the CSU, the CDU, the Green Party, the Left Party, the Social Democrats, to never collide with the right-wing party like the AfD, and that keeps them from from power. Like, it keeps them yet. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, because there are also tendencies within the CDU, for example. There are people who are like, well, maybe we can kind of soften the wall a little bit, because
Soften.
not soften,
Yeah.
kind of maybe. Do I have to stick to it all the time? When I wanna, I don't know, when I need the votes of the AfD to kind of push a law through government, because
Playing with fire.
a little bit, yes. So where's the limit to that?
Where is the limit? Yeah.
So, being a law professor, I got to push back a little bit, right? And pushing back, I really have to say the terms you all are using for far right, that this isn't like just people who believe in, let's say, limited government or markets or whatever. Like, these are folks who have a particular cultural view that this particular culture, German for the Germans, America for the Americans, here, English only, that, it is about, I would more accurately describe them as ethno-nationalists.
White
here
supremacy.
In terms of persecuting, gay folk. I mean, just really othering folks to the side. And so as opposed, I definitely think in terms of a pluralistic, multiracial democracy, that there's room for people who believe in limited government or who believe, but for people who don't believe in the belonging of others, I'm uncomfortable with saying, okay, well, they're just far out there, et cetera. So it's difficult for me to give them legitimacy, right, by equating them or by suggesting that people who are on the right have this belief, because I think there are a lot of people who are conservative who don't share these beliefs, right?
Well, Spencer, actually, that's something I have to face every day in my work because, I'm obligated to kind of include the AFD in our everyday work. So, which is kind of making it hard for me too. So that's not that, but that's coming from, from our company that this is like because they were elected on a democratic level. So
I'm certainly with you, and I agree with you. I just don't want to seed this notion and say, well, people who are conservative have to be racially or, have to be discriminatory here, right? So I think that's the big thing that I want to just kind of hold on to here, or let people who are center right or leaning right feel as though we're somehow being partisan, because when we talk about ethno-nationalists, we're not being partisan, right?
And just to echo that, I mean, these voices exist across the world, especially we've seen them in Western Europe and Eastern Europe. Almost every advanced democracy has a group of people who fit Spencer's description at somewhere between 5 to 20%, right? People who really feel like other people don't belong. What's really interesting, and this is what Charlotte did, what's really interesting about these proportional systems is that in those countries, they got 5 to 20% of the vote, right? In this country, that 5 to 20%, however big you want to make it, can control one of the parties, which then gets through party loyalty and people not knowing what else to do and not feeling like they have any alternative. That small group controls a party, which then controls all of the mechanisms of government. And so you really take this small share. And this is the thing that winner take all does to democracies. It swings things wildly back and forth. We just saw an election in Hungary where the meter went wildly this way after having gone wildly this way. And what proportional representation systems do, they sort of cut down those wild swings back and forth, because they operate on this very simple principle of about how many votes you get should determine about how much political power you have or about how much access you have to the overall system. But if you make winner take all doesn't care what the population overall thinks. It just matters who wins every individual district. And if those districts are concentrated in certain ways, or worse, if you got people who are designing those districts so that they win every single effing one of them, then you are going to get these wild swings, and you're going to get a small group of people dominating the political system in the worst possible way.
I want to remind people that when we talk about winner take all, the other side of that phrase is that the loser gets none.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So, in Germany, or maybe in the U.S., right, the 80% who are not in support of the ethno-nationalist party, why are we getting nothing or close to nothing, right? We're not even allowed to make our own rules anymore. Spencer, can you talk to us more about the Multiracial Democracy Project?
Sure. Our executive director, Lisa Bornstein, has been outstanding and great, and we are focused on solutions that will allow us to have a prosperous multiracial democracy in the future. So we are just honored to serve about 15 civil rights groups as we start to think through different forms of representation, like proportional representation. We also focus on some technology issues, and we're starting to think about the judiciary, and is this judiciary well situated to support a multiracial democracy.
Do you have some top lines for us about the decision today that you would be willing to share? Or
Yeah, sure. I think it's difficult in the sense that I think many of us had anticipated that it would be something like this, where it's not outright striking down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, but really making it very difficult to bring a claim. When I described this possible outcome to my mother, she said, "You mean like the jelly bean test?" I was like, "Yeah, Mom, just kind of like the jelly bean test. Like you make it so you say, okay, yeah, you can vote. You just have to count the number of beans in a jelly bean jar, right? Like, yeah, you can bring a voting rights claim. You just have to, overcome this impossible hurdle to bring a claim here." And so the court really, 6 justices on the court, I won't say the court as a whole, 6 justices really eviscerated longstanding law. And the concern is the threat to representation for communities of color, not just in Congress, but on the state and local level as well.
Right, because a lot from school boards, county councils, all the way up to the federal level, the Voting Rights Act has been the only way that people of color have been able to gain representation. And now that we can no longer draw these districts, what tools do we have left?
Right. So now, let's say we're not going to, some jurisdictions are just not going to draw the districts because they're going to say, oh, these are unconstitutional. They'll be struck down by this court, right? There also could be claims by private plaintiffs against some of the existing districts to break these districts up, right? So we're seeing a threat in a variety of spaces. And it's not even, again, we don't even have to wait till redistricting in 2030 or 2031 to realize some of these challenges. We could see lawsuits coming along, and we could see mid-decade redistricting in a number of these places.
Right, so if I'm thinking about this sort of on a spectrum, representation in the US has always been bad. It's gotten slightly better. It got better with the Voting Rights Act, and then there's been a lot of gerrymandering, racial gerrymandering, that's kind of bringing us back now, and now we have Calais, and they're taking away the couple nice things that we were able to win for ourselves.
Right, and one of the nice things about proportional representation is it's very difficult to gerrymander, right? So this could really be an issue in which a variety of folks are vested, because I think a lot of people don't like gerrymandering, right? And so I think this could be an area where we have a broad base of coalition of folks of color who are concerned about the fall of the Voting Rights Act, and other folks who just don't like gerrymandering, could come together.
I'm surprised at how many people know the term gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is actually an international term now, I believe, right?
I had to look it up.
Well, I know that that I've heard it. Other people have actually used the term outside the U.S., and I said, "Oh, I didn't realize we export that."
In Michigan, we used to make big Lego maps of gerrymanders, like 3 foot, 4 foot. We used to carry them around, and people at festivals would say, "Hey, nice gerrymander." Like they could tell, they knew what it was, and they knew that it was wrong.
Wow. So we can shift narrative. We can shift the word proportional representation is right now you say that word and a person off the street will say, what is that? But gerrymandering was once one of those words, and now you can make Legos dinosaurs.
Hey, nice proportional representation. That's what we're going for.
And just to build on what Kevin said, proportional representation means your group's share of votes roughly translates into an equal share of legislative seats, right? Right now, with gerrymandering, that's not the case, right? Because basically, even if your group has, let's say, 33% of the votes, they can draw the districts in a way where your group maybe only gets 20 or 15% of the legislative seats, just to kind of compare the two systems from one another and why proportional representation really puts a pause on gerrymandering.
Yeah,
and
one can be gamed and one can't. Go ahead.
You feel like your voice doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I as a German don't know that feeling.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carl. Let's dig into this. Let's just dig into this. Okay. I live in Washington State, and Washington State always goes blue. And so when I vote for the president, if I'm gonna vote for the Democratic candidate, then I mean, like, why do I need to bother? Because everybody else is voting for me. I'm cool, right? And if I were voting for a Republican candidate, I'm obviously gonna lose. So what is the point? So can you just say more what it feels like for your vote to matter? I want to live in that world.
Where do I start? No, yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's just natural to me. I mean, as you've heard, we don't have to register to vote. I turn 18. I'm allowed to vote. I just need my ID. Well, I don't even need my ID, actually, to be honest. I just need my ballot, and I go to the voting office on Sundays, and then I cast my vote, and you see the outcome in the evening. And yeah, it feels, whenever your favorite, the candidate you vote for is making it, it feels like a little personal success as well. And it feels like, yeah, you can really make a change with your vote.
And one of the things that the Germans we talked to said was that they have a representative. Like, you have, even if your party doesn't win your district.
And they're not annoyed when we contact them. They're not like, don't contact me again. They're like, okay, well, I hear you. I'm going to try to change it. Anything else you want me to do?
Oh, anything else? Yes.
Sometimes.
Kevin, I have a question for you. You're trying to make this feeling of having your vote matter be a reality in Michigan. It just sounds like a dream. Can we actually do this? Like, is this just like a utopian fantasy and, we're going to get there in 50, 100 years? Or like, what's the plan?
So 2014, I teach political science, so I'm kind of obsessed with gerrymandering. In 2014, I was bringing this up to people, and they're like, that's not going to change. We had a little collaborative. They said maybe by 2030, we can think about putting it on the ballot or convincing someone. A couple of organizers emerged, a bunch of women. It's always the women who are making these things happen, and said, we can fix this. And they fixed it. Like, everyone else looked at them and said, you can't do that, right? And they just did it. And this same group of people, now with an even bigger coalition and a lot of people, we're in that same space, right? It's not easy, and it's not like a guarantee, but we know what we're doing. We know how to do it. We've done it now twice. We're in the process of doing it a third time. This would be our fourth. And the idea is to get that message out there to people, to show them that this is a really common sense solution to a series of problems. It's really taking it to that next level. You can fix gerrymandering, but winner take all is still problematic, even if you fix the gerrymandering, right? You still don't get your own rep. You still are vulnerable to the problems with third parties. No one wants to create a third party because they don't want to be a spoiler. All of these things happen because we've got this underlying core winner-take-all system that we inherited 250 years ago, because it worked in tiny British districts, kind of, sort of. But it's not the best way to run a political system. And so what we need is a system that's going to look at the overall results and is going to make sure that our legislature looks like our population. That's not that hard to explain. It's a lot of work, but it's not that hard to do. So yeah,
people want nice things. People want their vote to matter.
Yes, and they are pissed off.
I'm pissed off.
We did a bunch of focus groups, right? What do people want? They want basic stuff. They want, like, clean water, and they want decent education for their kids, and they want a working transportation system, and they are absolutely out of their minds with anger that certain kinds of people have decided they're going to restrict those things because they don't want to give a win to the other side, or because they don't want to work together. And so when we show people that there are alternatives, I mean, if you look at the dissatisfaction with the current American political party system, we've never seen numbers this high. I think people are ready for something. And I think what we've got to do is first listen, make sure that what we're offering fits what people are asking for, and then explain it in a way that makes sense. I think people will jump.
Heather, maybe that's a learning that our system can teach your system.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
that even if the political views are really different between the parties, they still find common ground somewhere, and they still find a way to make it work for the greater good, kind of, for the people.
So, I'm excited that things are happening in my home, native state of Michigan, right? As well as some other places in the country. I do think that my ancestral home of the U.S. South should not be overlooked. I think that sometimes funders and other folks feel like things are difficult in terms of the South. And, the South definitely needs resources and can and should be on the forefront of the change. It certainly has been in terms of the past, in terms of democracy. And I think that we should look at it and engage it rather than avoid it.
How many people are from the South in this room? All right. How many people from the South? Let's give them a round of applause for being here. Oh. I thought you Southern folk were going to make a lot more noise. Can you do that again? How many Southern folks are there in the room? Okay, thank you. All right. Last question. This is going to be a really, really difficult one. And then we're going to close. So thank you very much. If you could form your own political party, what would it be? You could tell us the name, colors, animal. Could be serious, could be not serious. Up to you. Who wants to go first?
Do I have to?
She's the journalist here.
What was the question again?
If you could have your own political party.
You can go first, Kevin.
So I want to go mundane. So actually what I study in my day job is political parties and new political parties that form. And so I've seen a lot of new political parties with like cool sounding, clever names and like cool colors like magenta and cyan and all these kinds of things. I wouldn't do that. I think what the people of my state want is something very mundane, very basic. And so for me, a party of Michiganders for good government, I think is the place to start. I would start with the obvious, the simple, the clear, and then let all the other parties form and change around. But I think that what we really need, and I think what we have room for and appetite for, is a political party that looks at problems, that finds solutions, that are able to bring people from the center left and the center right together to start solving some of our basic problems that none of us can deny and that aren't that hard to fix, frankly, if we can get our act together.
Well, it's a tough question actually for me because there's so many parties in Germany already. We don't only have two, but
You don't need this exercise.
so all the colors are kind of they're taken. So I would probably go with the rainbow, just the rainbow, just to include everyone. So party that's open for everyone, and yeah, a name. I have to come up with that.
Charlotte Gobel.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would call it
of
the Alliance of Charlotte, because that's actually what one of the left politicians did. She kind of formed her own party with her own name, but just because she's so famous, and she actually almost made it into the Bundestag last year in the election, which is actually it's really impressive.
Spencer?
My political party would be committed to democratic reform. So in terms of getting money out of politics, election structures, really not allowing kind of incumbents or other forces to make decisions for us, but for people too. And it would be committed to those issues.
Thank you. I'm going to participate as well.
We could call it more equitable democracy.
Oh, yeah.
That would, we've got the party
Orange,
colors, we've
yeah.
got the logo. Like, you're ready to go.
I don't know. Okay, I want to answer this question too, but I don't know what the name of it is, but it would be explicitly about racial justice and liberation and dismantling all forms of oppression. Like, I want all those people to be in a party with me so we could go to karaoke and then elect some people to office. Or wait, elect some people to office and then go to karaoke.
We would caucus together.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay. Well, very good. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you to our viewers at home. We appreciate you being with here tonight, and like and share the film. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks.